Tipping. Why it's not your responsibility to pay the server's salary. It's a common practice in many restaurants, but have you ever questioned why you owe your server a tip? Tipping has become an integral part of the restaurant industry in many countries around the world. In fact, in some places, it's almost expected that you'll leave a tip for your server after a meal. But have you ever stopped to consider why tipping exists in the first place? As a server, I work hard to provide the best service possible. Tips are an essential part of my income, and I rely on them to make a living wage. But is it really the customer's responsibility to tip me? To answer this question, we need to understand the history of tipping and how it affects the restaurant industry. Tipping was originally intended as a way for customers to show appreciation for exceptional service. But over time, it has become a way for restaurants to shift the burden of paying their staff onto their customers. In some places, servers are paid a lower minimum wage and expected to make up the difference with tips. I understand that many servers rely on tips to make a living wage, but I also believe that it's the restaurant's responsibility to pay their employees a fair wage. By relying on customers to make up the difference, we're putting an undue burden on them. So, why don't customers owe servers a tip? It's not because servers don't work hard or provide good service. It's because the restaurant industry should be paying their staff a living wage, rather than expecting customers to make up the difference. The restaurant industry has created a system where servers are paid a lower minimum wage and expected to make up the difference with tips. This system is flawed because it puts the burden on the customer to pay the server's wages. It's not fair to ask customers to bear this responsibility. When you go out to eat at a restaurant, you're not just paying for the food. You're also paying for the service. The cost of the food is meant to cover the cost of ingredients, preparation, and overhead. The service charge is meant to cover the server's wages. I always tip my server because I understand how hard they work. But I also think that the restaurant should be paying their staff a fair wage. It's not fair to rely on customers to pay the server's wages. If customers don't owe servers a tip, what can we do to support servers and ensure they earn a living wage? As a restaurant owner, I believe it's my responsibility to pay my staff a fair wage. By doing so, I can ensure that my customers are happy, and my staff is motivated to provide exceptional service. I would love to earn a living wage without having to rely on tips. It would take a lot of stress off my shoulders, and I could focus on providing even better service to my customers. As customers, we can also advocate for fair wages for restaurant staff. We can support restaurants that pay their staff a living wage, and we can speak out against restaurants that rely on customers to make up the difference. In conclusion, customers don't owe servers a tip. While it may be customary in some places, it's not a legal requirement, and it shouldn't be seen as an obligation. Instead, we should advocate for fair wages in the restaurant industry and put an end to the burden on customers to make up the difference.